Welcome to Make It Plain from Make Plain Jesus Ministries, featuring Pastor James Bryan, where we take biblical truths in everyday situations and break them down to be as plain as possible. So, stay tuned and enjoy the broadcast.
Welcome, everyone, to this latest episode of Make It Plain. And my name is James Bryan, and I'm your host for today. And so as we spend this time together, I want to be able to just let you know that, as always, we're bringing up practical, simplistic topics that we can add to your life so that we can have a more fulfilling life all the way around. And these are things that we think about during the course of the day, but every little portion of the topics that we talk about that you add on a regular basis to your everyday life will make a difference. And so today we get to talk about the topic of, can I be happy? Can I be happy? And that's a topic that some people will voice and others will not, but it goes around in everyone's mind, kind of figuring out, how can I be happy or even happier than maybe I am at the moment? As we look around, and you can think of people on multiple fingers, I'm sure, that you look around and they just don't seem happy on a regular basis. There's always a but to whatever you say positive, or I know, but it's not really going to look that way for me, or I've been through all these different things, so I don't expect it to get better. And so you have people that walk around, and maybe this is even you as you're listening to this, that you have this low expectation of an outcome, that you have not a anticipation of something working out well. And so hopefully during this discussion, these few minutes that we get to share in this podcast, we can kind of change that. You see, I want you to be able to go through life and not have what I would call an Eeyore complex. You may say, what's Eeyore? Well, have you ever seen Winnie the Pooh? And you know the different characters that are there? But there's one that would always say, yes, oh no, and it has this really slow talk, and there always seems to be a dark cloud over him. And no matter what, and trying to get excitement out of him is a chore, but he hangs around anyway with his buddies. And so you may have folks that are like that in your circle. And in your circle, you care for them, but when you hang around them too much, they kind of bring you down with them. Instead of you bringing them up, they just have that effect. And so, in those folks, what some are struggling to do is get out of that. And they need doses of people like you, if you are the one that has the optimistic viewpoint, to come around. But then there are others who just look at things that way and want to pull you down with them. So I want you to be aware of that and start thinking about, well, can I be happy? And so what does that really mean to me as a person? And so when I think about this and when you think about it throughout the course of your day, this might be a day when you're hearing this that you woke up in what I would call a funk. That normally you may be okay, pretty level, or maybe even optimistic on most days. But this morning, maybe it's because it was cloudy or rainy or something else, but you just woke up in a funk. So what do you do about that? Can you be happy today? Can you be happy when you don't wake up with a, hey, let's go conquer the world type attitude? That's something that we have to address. But then also, you may look at television a lot or some other types of media, and everything that you turn to seems to be doom and gloom all the time. And then you notice that it begins to weigh down on you. So the question then you ask yourself, can I be happy? Because what everybody else says doesn't make me happy. So can I be happy is really the question. And then, when you think about all these things that are weighing on you, the question should come, well, what does it mean to be happy? I want you to know that your definition of what makes you happy or the things that contribute to that, maybe it's a particular activity. For some, it might be a particular food, right? Or some maybe just doing or hearing from someone. Whatever it is that makes you happy, that may be very different from what the next person thinks it is. So then the question comes, what does that mean to be happy? And so as always, and which is the standard way that a lot of people do this, is I started thinking, well, what does it say in the dictionary? What is happiness? And so from a pure dictionary perspective, happiness is a state of well-being or contentment. A state of well-being or contentment. In other words, they say joy. So think about that for a minute. If you consider yourself a happy person, are you normally in a state of well-being? Do you normally have joy in your life? You know, I think it's important for us to really answer that for ourselves. If you look at the past 7 days or the past month, what percentage of the time do you think that you had joy in your life? Or what percentage of the time do you think that you felt content or happy? Can you come to some general number? And then I would ask, if that number is below 50%, then the question becomes, is that normal for you? And then would you like to make it a higher percentage if that is the norm for you? You see, I want you to know that getting to the point of being happy is something that we can achieve. Does that mean that 100% of the time that we're always like, woohoo, everything's going well? I would tell you that the answer is no. But I can tell you that you can be happy most of the time. And so you can look at life with an optimistic viewpoint as opposed to a pessimistic viewpoint. You can look at it with a glass half full or a glass half empty. And so you begin to look at how that's being done. So let me take a little bit farther for you and try to help you. You know, for me, a lot of times, you know, I have to wake up and some days I feel like a funk is trying to come on me. Some days I don't, and I feel like, yeah, this is a great day. And so on the days that I don't wake up as bubbly, and I say as bubbly because my family would tell you that I am a morning person. I am one of those ones that in the morning I'm ready to roll. Where some people, even you who may be listening, may not consider yourself that person. So I'm not always the person to be around first thing in the morning. Hey, how you doing? How are things going? And you're thinking, please don't talk to me until I get coffee, right? I've had that comment. But when you think about this whole process and this whole understanding about each day, especially if you don't wake up in the right bubbly frame of mind, I found out that really it's a choice. Choosing on this day or this moment that I am going to be happy. And so once I make that choice, and again, it's hard sometimes, but the choice that I'm going to be happy on this day, I begin to look at things differently on purpose. And I got to tell you, if I'm going to be honest, and I need to be honest, is that when you first make that choice, you don't always feel like you're happy instantaneously. But when I continue, I've noticed, to focus on being happy, looking at things in a positive way, speaking in a positive way, then all of a sudden I get to the point that I am feeling happier. Even if I have a whole list of to-do things, and some of those things I really don't want to do. But I'm looking at it from a standpoint of, I get to do this again. I get to learn some things. I get to be engaged, and I begin to look at it from that perspective. And then I get happier. And so then, even on those days where it's really tough, I try to insert some things that I know that I like to do. Just a little dose of those things throughout the day kind of help me. And so when I'm able to do that, then I'm able to feel happy throughout the day, have joy or contentment throughout the day. What about you? There's got to be some things that you know that you like doing. Now, I know that some may say, I like to travel around the world. Well, I do too, but you can't always do that. So what are some local things where you are or around you that you can do? Whether it's visiting some things on the internet that you can learn from, or watching certain things, or just being outside in nature. Maybe it's just taking a walk or riding your bike. Maybe it's something else. What are those things? I want to encourage you just to take time out and start at least figuring out what those 2, 3, 4, 5 things might be. that you can then insert in your day at times to help you get this pick-me-up, this uplift at times when you're really struggling on a particular day and you can't find your joy, your happiness at all. Again, I want you to know that you can choose to be happy. It's hard to do sometimes, but it's not impossible. And so when we're happy, I found out something else which was really interesting, which also begins to drive us toward making sure that we take time to be happy. I was looking at a particular site, and I was reading some of the benefits. It was Healthline, and I was reading some of the benefits of being happy. First of all, did you know there are benefits to being a happy person or being happy in your life? It's not just the smile on your face. It is not just saying, I'm happy, and being an Eeyore type, but you're not really happy. When you have joy in your life, it has a benefit to your body and to your well-being. And so, I read a couple of things, and I saw one area where it says, people who are happy also have healthier diets, and they eat fruits and vegetables and other things like that when they're happy. I also saw that there is information here about studies that says the immune system works much better when you're happy. And so now that we're entering into colder weather and everything else, and with the virus around, you want to be happy, right? Have your immune system working to the best of its ability. And so from there, you begin to see that, happier people also take more care and more interest in physical activity. And physical activity helps prolong life, and it helps prolong a healthier day-to-day lifestyle for you. All of this is connected to being happy. And happy in that sense is really a certain outlook and then applying it. So happiness has an impact. And because of the regular physical activity, then your bones are stronger, your energy levels are higher. And I was reading in this same study that, it was saying that sometimes during the course of the day when your mind is just not focusing, it's wandering everywhere, your energy levels are low, rather than going to get a caffeine boost, and I've been guilty of that a lot of times, it talks about doing some type of exercise. It doesn't mean that you have to then run 10 kilometers and come back, but moving your body, doing some type of exercise will help in those areas and help you get farther into what you need to do. And in that way, when you do that, you're able to have a healthier lifestyle. In addition, I was reading that all of this results even in blood pressure, control of blood pressure. And so I'm not going through every, medical benefit, but I am trying to get across to you and to remind myself also that really this whole thing about being happy results in healthiness. I was going to say being healthy results in happiness. I guess it goes that way also. Now, there's a couple of things I also want to share with you in these next few minutes. And that is, even from a biblical standpoint, it begins to talk a lot about being happy, about joy. I remember seeing in, I think it was Psalms 37, there's a verse in there that says, delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. Well, I was reading that and I found out something different. I won't say different, but it actually supports this whole happiness and joy. When I was reading a lot of the Psalms and other scriptures that talk about joy and happiness and about it being like a medicine and all those other aspects, I found out something. Really, the focus of all of this is focusing on the Lord himself. And if you get to know him, not through ritual, but get to understand what he's doing for us and what he's done for us, then it brings joy, which then translates to every other part of our life. And then if our focus is there, then it's easier for us to have joy to apply in our work situation, in our marriage, in our family relationships, and everywhere else. So this whole thing about happiness, which is the contentment, which then goes and focuses into joy according to the dictionary, all of that works into your physical and mental and spiritual well-being. So now again, it takes us for a minute to then ask the question about what makes us happy. I would suggest now, truth be told, I'm also a pastor, but even beyond that, from person to person, I want you to understand that really that connection with the Lord himself helps in those areas when it's very hard to do it on your own. In addition to that, thinking about things and doing things that bring joy to you matter significantly. And then you add on to that the health benefits that come from those happy thoughts and the happiness in your life then adds longevity. Everyone wants to have a long and prosperous life. Well, I would say being happy is part of it. Now, being happy doesn't always mean that you're a billionaire. Being happy doesn't always mean that you own 20 mansions. It isn't always about the things. It's more about what's making you happy and the quality of your life, the quality of the experiences, the quality of the relationships. But again, I would say it's even more important from the standpoint of your quality of the relationship with the Lord. That's where true happiness comes from. So think about all these things that we talked about. You want to have a day full of joy, full of happiness, so that you can sleep well. Oh, and yes, I forgot to tell you. I kind of set it up, I guess. In the end, when it's all said and done, even scientific research shows that people who are happy sleep better. They get better rest. And so we got to think about that aspect and the importance of being happy. Some people will say, I don't need to be happy. Well, you don't have to be happy, but in order for a fulfilling life, you need to be happy. So you need to work on things that will allow that. You can be happy in the midst of a storm. You can be happy in the midst of other, tough times. But just know that has an impact to longevity. Many people who have lived very long lives didn't have easy lives. In fact, they had hard lives at times, but they found a way to be happy at times through all of their circumstances. What about you? Can you do that? What about you when you're working at a job that you really don't like, but you need to? What about you when you have certain relationships, and I'm not talking necessarily about marriage or what have you, but family or whatever stresses you out, but how do you make yourself happy? So think about those things. These are just some food for thought. We hope that this will be something that will allow you to reassess your life and begin to think about how I can make it better. Stop complaining about everything that's gone wrong or things that you don't have, but instead focus on things that, bring you joy and the blessings that you have, that you're even here. Find ways to do things that give you a break from the monotony of the things that are weighing you down. Do something silly and crazy at times that causes you to laugh. It's okay, even if it's corny. But then just go on through life with a smile on your face saying, that relieved a lot. I just needed that. I have a sister that I speak to from time to time, and she'll do things, start laughing, but then she says, okay, I needed that laugh. I'm good for the day. That's how we all should be. At that point, a laugh, whatever it might be, can actually change your perspective for the whole day. Now, if this has been helpful, I hope that you can go and share this with many other folks. Ask them to tune in regularly to our podcast, Make It Plain. And each time we'll have something new, different, that will be able to help you along in your everyday living. Until then, thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next podcast. God bless.